Hello, I don't know what day it is, but it's the very end of the week.
+2. The last one was an obvious date.
13th, 14th?
It's Friday the 13th.
+2.
Oh, it's Friday the 13th. Spooky, just in time for spooky season.
Not quite.
Is it 14th?
No, it's not quite spooky season.
Oh, it's not. No. You're messing me up right now. No, it is spooky season because all of the pumpkin spice stuff's starting to come out.
Well, that could...
Like, the pumpkin spice latte's back.
But doesn't pumpkin spice season go all the way to Thanksgiving? I associate that more with Thanksgiving.
I think it goes all the way to, like, December now.
I could go for some pumpkin spice pumpkin
You
pie.
know, sometimes they switch over to, like, holiday spice, and it's the same.
It is kind of the same.
Sometimes you
Well, I
get...
saw an ad for it at Starbucks the other day.
Sometimes holiday spice means peppermint, and so like peppermint and offensive things, and that is not acceptable.
Is peppermint a spice? It's more of an herb, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But it's like, oh, here's our peppermint, whatever. And it's like, no.
Well, speaking of artificial intelligence, language, processing language is the big deal for artificial intelligence because people think about AI, think about the Terminator, carry on a conversation with you as it kills you, but we're just not there. We don't have it because we don't have machines that can think or learn or things like that on the level that we think of as what those words mean. But we're moving in that direction. And what was that TV show where it's like, are you smarter?
Than a fifth grader.
Right. So the question for the AI is, are you smarter than an 8th grader?
Breakthrough AI. Passing an 8th grade science test. So,
like, you got bummed out in the middle of that?
Well, it's because this, for
The
whatever
fly
reason, the
is-
fly's
Oh, the
here.
fly. Yeah, he's
And then
killing
also,
us.
this article is paywalled, though I didn't have it when I read it at home.
well, they were trying to pass a high school test, but they struggled passing a high school test, but they were able to pass an 8th grade test. They did. There's no figures like the geometry questions. It's like solve for X, none of that. But there are actually questions on this test that require logic and reasoning, such as like which of the following 4 questions might cause a decrease in the squirrel population in a given area. And the thing was actually able to read and understand those questions. Well, understand in quotation marks there, but read and understand the questions well enough to respond to them intelligently. And it got an A on the 8th grade science test. And then they tweaked it a little bit and did the high school test, and it got like a B, like a low B. It was like an 80, I think.
It's now writing depressing poetry and talking about how it's never going to get into college.
And vaping.
Yeah. So, and I guess the AI this is based on read Wikipedia and a whole bunch of fiction novels and crap like that.
It was this AI was only designed to take tests.
Yeah.
That's all it does is take multiple choice tests.
It was never the knowledge that was killing it. It was interpreting the language of the test.
Yeah.
That's the big thing here.
So are you saying that the student has been forced to meld its mind to the test instead of actually learning knowledge?
This is like a brilliant Japanese student who doesn't speak a word of English, and then he moves to the U.S., and like he could knock out the entire U.S. curriculum no problem, but he has to figure out how to take the test.
Yeah.
So
Pretty
interesting.
much all school is anymore. But.
One step closer to the end of humanity. Looking forward to it. We talk a lot about robots, and this is, after all, the robot and AI section. And one thing that is universal that we maybe didn't predict, which is weird because we should have, because people are terrible, is people are very abusive toward robots. And Wired asked the question, should we be? Is there a reason to be?
Of course, citizens should be allowed to kick robots. Seen in the wild, robots often appear cute and non-threatening. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be hostile. The author's reasoning is that, like a cop car parked on the side of the street, the robots are there and invasive, and so we behave differently than we would if they weren't around. And so that is reason enough to kick a robot.
And this one in particular, so this is, we've seen these guys before. I think this is the one that fell in the fountain, isn't it?
Yeah.
This
Bless its
design.
heart.
Existential crisis.
So these robots have been used to corral homeless people away from buildings, and basically what they're doing is collecting data. They're seeing who you are, where you're walking, how you're interacting with the building. They're owned by the building. And so this author is just saying, like, yeah, these robots aren't doing us any good. They're there for nefarious purposes. You should attack them. Which, I don't know. I mean,
Maybe.
It is private property.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it's just kind of not because of like it has any personhood or anything, but it does probably belong to a person.
I think that somehow, like, I don't know why, but as I was reading that, I remember thinking about like public toilets, and like people do terrible things to public toilets.
But you normally wouldn't be there, so it's okay to just
No,
crap all over them.
But public toilets are very useful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good reason not to destroy a public toilet because you might have to come back there again.
But people do it anyway, and I don't get why.
I mean, that's a cyclical thing.
If it's going to be okay to kick robots, people are going to destroy public restrooms.
The broken window fallacy.
Yeah.
If your robot is in poor condition, it could really cause the crime rate to skyrocket in your area.
It's amazing it's not been spray painted or anything yet.
And give them time.
Yeah.
That would be a great way to get your tag seen, right? Because it's like a mobile billboard.
ROM. We have a couple people who tag our area. There's a war between ROM and who's the other one?
I can't remember.
There's two.
Which is why the other one's no good.
It's illegible.
No, I remember
Isn't it
his
like
name.
Shark or something?
I'm going to look for it out in the streets when I'm going home because I see it a lot.
You should tweet it. No, don't do that.
No, I can't do that.
In China, they've got this thing called the army worm. That sounds very intimidating, doesn't it? And apparently this thing will destroy your crops in a real quick fashion.
Is it like Blight in RimWorld?
It's invasive. It's actually from here, I think. But when it got to China, it was like, oh my God, look at all this vegetation. I love it. And what was their response? Very Chinese, of course.
China drone attack on crop-eating monster shows a 98% kill rate. So these drones fly about, look for infestations of this thing, and then selectively apply pesticide to get rid of it, with a 98% success rate. But this dramatically lowers the amount of relatively toxic pesticide that is applied to the crop.
Yeah, instead of just blanketing all of your fields from an airplane, you send these guys out. And they also, I think this pesticide's a little weaker than what they would use normally. And so, because it's getting right there on top of it.
Yeah, it's targeted.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That is neat.
Although I'm sure there are some other kinds of things living in these farms who are getting blasted with pesticide who probably don't enjoy it. I don't know. They do need a lot of food over there, and they probably ship a lot of it our way. So I'm going to say,
all right,
keep going with that. And when it comes to the drone game, what happens if there are bad drones, evil drones to spy on us and destroy our lives and steal our Amazon packages? Well, China also has an answer for that.
China says its drone can hunt like Spiderman. So these drones are going to fly around and drop a net on whatever. And woo.
You don't remember Spider-Man flying or dropping nets.
Yeah, so I don't understand the Spider-Man analogy at all.
But here you go. So you see one is caught up here. They got these big nets.
I'm caught in a very tiny net.
It's a medium-sized net.
You think maybe the people in Hong Kong could use that to catch the smoke grenades launched from the buildings?
Well, that is kind of the argument. It's like, okay, are we the bad guys here? That's the Communist Party running those drones. So I think Japan already did that, didn't they? Because they had like the Yakuza were running drugs with drones, and then there was an arms race of which drone could destroy the other, which is great for drone technology. Really moves the needle. Deepfake is a big scare in the world right now, and it just keeps getting better. We see more and more deepfake technology, and China is the latest one to step up and give us some amazing deepfake technology.
Chinese deepfake app Zhao sparked privacy row after going viral. So there was a clause in the license that said that they get to permanent, oh Lord, that's loud.
Yeah, I can hear it over there.
They
Look at that.
Oh.
Yeah. So finally,
Pretty incredible.
This is one of the very first things that we said on Level 1 News is like eventually there's going to be technology where I can just put Danny DeVito as all roles in a movie.
It's here. There it is. This is just some guy in a...
Friday the 13th, September 13th, 2019. There it is. And the Chinese people have brought it to me. It's amazing, an amazing thing. It's not. This is really bad.
But there's a catch.
The company gets a free, irrevocable, permanent, transferable, and replaceable?
Relicensable.
Oh, relicensable rights to all user-generated content. This is very similar to the Russian app. So Russia and China have both done this kind of thing. And, of course, we have to freak out about it now.
Yeah.
If it was an American company like Facebook, it would be fine. You know, we have, like, Ron Wyden to complain about it, but basically nothing would happen.
Oh, there's that foreshadowing.
Facebook is making its own deepfakes and offering prizes for detecting them. So, yeah, if you can detect that this is a deepfake, show Facebook how, and you get money. So they can make better Facebooks.
And they're not screwing around here. They have super state-of-the-art. They've got like a really talented team just designed around making the best deepfakes in the world and putting them out there. And if you can find them, you get that sweet money. So that's pretty cool. That's, I think, the best way to do this, and I'm not sure if this is how they're doing it, but they should never tell people where the deepfakes are. They should just be like, scan everything. Just turn on CNN and just let it run, because you never know. We're going to sneak one into the news or whatever. And that way we'll have just a giant dragnet on all of the media's communications to find out where the fake is. Robots are really good at medicine, it turns out. It seems like mostly they detect things. They're good at looking at x-rays and scans and, you know, cultures and things like that, and doing a really good job of weeding out the healthy versus the possibly sick. They have huge success rates. But now we're stepping into a brave new world where robots are actually going to cut into you and fix you.
First, long-distance heart surgery performed via robot. Before you get excited, long distance in this case means 20 miles, which seemed like an unnecessary risk for the patients in my eyes.
You think you could have hopped in a cab?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe the patient was like, yeah, whatever, I'll try this. This isn't uncommon. They've had surgical robots for a while. This one's the first one that's distance, but...
Here it is. And, well, remember there was that story where they killed a guy
Yeah.
because they had, like, the robot surgeon, and there were supposed to be 3 or 4 backups in case something went wrong. And they were all like, hey, I'm going to knock off early. You got this, right? You're good with the robot surgery? I'll see you tomorrow. See you next week, actually. I'm going to take a long weekend. And then the guy died.
Yeah.
Which is sad. But, yeah, they did this time. I think he did like 25 surgeries that day.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So,
I'm a doctor. I'm a surgeon. I can work from home now.
yeah, pretty incredible. Like, your surgeon might not even be wearing pants.
Finally.
But it does take out some of the risks of infection and, you know, like germs and stuff.
That's true.
Because there's always that risk with a live surgeon. Yeah, but it does also bring up, like, what if the power goes out? I doubt you could run a robot surgeon on a backup battery for very long.
Yeah.
So you got 5 minutes to close him up. It's beeping.
You got 5 minutes to get 20 miles.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know how that... Usually hospitals have really, like, complex, like, generator networks and stuff, but I don't know how
Yeah, I
that
think
works.
actually it's seamless in a hospital, so it probably wouldn't be that big a deal. But does the guy on the other end have that?
That's a good point.
And on to the nonsense section. And let's talk about, first, before we see the headline, look at him, little garlic.
Yeah.
He's adorable.
Little baby kitten.
What's special about garlic? Well, he's not unique.
Kitten cloned by Chinese Sinogene?
Sinogene, yeah.
Chinese firm Sinogene after owner struggles to come to terms with the cat's death. The cat died suddenly and unexpectedly, so he cloned him. I wonder if the fur pattern turned out exactly the same.
90%, they said.
Wow.
So this is Garlic 2. And
He didn't even give him his own name.
he was a pure clone from the original Garlic. But he's, again, only 90% the same. And it is yet to be seen if his behavior will be anywhere close to the original Garlic.
I would say no, because, like, there's so many little things that make up your personality. Like,
Well, we're going to find that out, aren't we? This is the ultimate nature versus nurture. I mean, you could try to raise him the same way, but it's a cat, so who knows? Now, they talk about, this is about $51,000 for a cat, $78,000 for a dog. Krista, if Rue
No.
chokes to death on her cone, and you can pay $78,000 to get another little Rue.
No. I wouldn't do that with my last dog, Quincy, either. No. They're gone. If I want another dog, I'll have to start from scratch.
So, but they point out that at least this was in Japan, China. In China, it's not just rich people who do this. People will go into debt to get garlic too.
There's so many other animals that need homes. Like,
Probably the one child thing has something to do with that.
I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
no, that's not a thing. I don't think anymore.
Yeah,
no.
they're allowed to breed all they want now.
Engagement challenge?
Got to get as many little commies as you can out there. We have, speaking of pets, a lot of people really bond deeply with their pets. Obviously, you're going to pay $51,000 or $78,000 to get them back after they die. You clearly have maybe too much of an attachment to your pet. And sometimes people have unusual pets, animals that we don't think of as pets, that we think of as food. And it can be wrong to treat them like your other pets.
The CDC is warning people not to kiss chickens. CDC has linked salmonella cases to families raising poultry in their backyards. So, yeah, turns out chickens get salmonella when they're still alive.
Gee, I wonder where they're doing this.
St. Petersburg, Florida, as it turns out.
People here raise chickens all over the place.
Yeah,
we had
but
chickens
did
growing
they
up.
make out with them?
No, we did pick them up a lot.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
I had one that was he was like a little cat to me, or like a dog. He would just come up and let me pick him up.
I think chickens they can develop real personalities.
Yeah. He got eaten by a dog.
Oh, that's a nice way to end that story.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, man. I just couldn't help myself.
It's going to trigger
So,
some people.
Trolling the Tesla drivers is fun, but it's kind of getting old. And the AMD people, it's always fun, but they're winning. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
What can you say about that anymore? So my new favorite target is the vapors, and boy, are they easy to set off. And so
we have Ryan is just trolling, and it works every time.
We have a vaping epidemic in this country, and it's just getting worse.
Epidemic is definitely the way to describe that. 21-year-old in coma for complications related to vaping. So this is a medically induced coma because his respiratory system is basically destroyed. And the article blames vaping.
Yeah, well, we don't know anything else about. Now, I did see a couple of headlines about this. So they're saying that they tracked it down to one kind of THC vape that had some additive in it that should never be vaped. But then there were more stories about it. And you have to wonder how much of it is just, fear porn headlines and how much of it is real.
Yeah.
But we're definitely seeing a lot of people getting really messed up by the vape. So who knows? Who knows where this will go?
Is this in the 80s? It seems like people were smoking Vaseline and stuff like that, and that ended badly as well.
I've never heard
I
of
don't
that.
remember that. No.
Are you talking about the formaldehyde?
Yeah, the formaldehyde thing. Yeah,
that was
doing they would roll their own, and it was just let's smoke some random thing. And it's just Jesus.
Well, you would soak your cigarettes in your formaldehyde.
That's essentially what meth is. I mean, not the formaldehyde, but it's just just throw some batteries in there. All right.
Huh? I mean, that does. Well, I've never done it, but by all accounts, that is an effective way to get high. So I suppose vaping is too. Yeah. Who knows? If you have both vaped and smoked formaldehyde, let us know if those compare at all.
How did that? Would you like to write about your experiences in the comments below?
Oh, electric cars, they're catching on. But there's a problem because people don't quite seem to understand what it means to have an electric car. For example, the Taycan Turbo. So Ford decided to get out there and do some market research, and some disturbing things were learned.
Ford study finds that 42% of Americans think electric cars still need gasoline.
That's not the most distressing thing in this survey, because I could see that because there were so many hybrid cars for a long time.
I really worry about the future of America.
But they also
there were some other ones that were much more worrying.
They thought they were slow.
Yeah.
Which, say what you want about electric cars, They're fast. Yeah, and really disturbing.
You think maybe people think the electric cars are slow because of cars like the Nissan Leaf?
Well,
That's-
yeah,
it
they
has to be,
associate them
yeah.
with those hybrid and the garbage cars that we had for so long. That like the cars that were just supposed to make you feel good about yourself. But the modern electric cars are neither slow or that great for the environment, so it's a win-win. We had the hurricane. Did that ever make landfall?
It never made it to Florida. I think it just kind of brushed up the coast.
I know it just wrecked the Bahamas.
It did. It did, like destroyed the Bahamas. But
When I
don't
say
think
landfall, I mean mainland U.S.
I don't think so. I think it just like skimmed it. It never really like went overland.
Well, I think this completely justifies Miss Marianne Williamson. Then she was right.
Marianne Williamson denies she's crazy after deleting a tweet about the power of mind impacting Hurricane Dorian's path.
This is a presidential candidate.
Again, I sort of worry about the future of America.
So here we is. She's talking about using the power of the mind. It only takes 2 minutes. You don't have to.
Prayer and visualization.
Well, you need and meditation. It's the triple threat. Any two of those alone couldn't do it. You got to do all three. And I think she's done it. She turned it. She wrecked the Bahamas, but she saved Florida and the Carolinas.
Maybe she just had everyone in her town put fans outside the window, blow it back out to sea.
X'd out.
Imagine what she'll be able to do as president with this power.
The power of thoughts and prayers.
The Mass Transit Authority in New York has a very specific gripe about Apple users. Now, I know what you're thinking. No, it's not any of those thousands of reasons. It's this one.
New York's MTA might warn riders not to remove their AirPods on the subway because it's tired of picking them up. So specifically, they're talking about people dropping the AirPods on the tracks.
Oh.
And it turns out
That happens a lot.
it happens a lot, and a lot of people are more than happy to hop down there and try to get them back because those are expensive. That's not recommended.
No. Instead, they've got a special retrieval device, which there's a picture of, which is amazing.
Well, I think this girl made her own.
Yeah. Well, it was duct tape on the end of a stick.
Well, she got it. Good job. And they will actually, if you go and complain to them, they will slow down or stop the trains to recover your pod.
That would never happen in Japan.
Can you imagine if you're waiting on a train, you got a big, appointment coming up, and you have to wait for an AirPod to be rescued? I say just push whoever's doing it. Right? Just take one for the team. You'll go to prison, but you'll have made the world
How
a better
much are
place.
AirPods? Like 150?
Yeah.
For the pair.
Yeah.
But if you lose one, you can't just get another one to replace, right?
Yeah.
Just
gotta
do
get
the
a whole
pair.
other.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got a mismatched pair, I don't think that works either.
Which is sad because you could,
Yeah.
homeless people could just go down and run through the tracks and pick those up. I mean, that's way better than collecting aluminum cans, right? Or copper.
Oh,
It's a little more dangerous, but risk reward. This one I was not able to read because they have this weird CAPTCHA thing that didn't work for me for whatever
Yeah, I
reason.
didn't see this one.
But this is a great headline.
Silicon Valley heavyweights who want to settle the moon. No, really. So there are a bunch of wealthy people in Silicon Valley that are all, I don't want to live on this planet anymore, and they legit want to build a moon colony. And they see the economic benefits of having the moon colony for all the cool stuff we can get from the moon and send it back to the U.S. But also they could live there, and it would be magical and amazing.
How snobby do you have to be that just like a regular gated community is not enough for you? No, I need to live on the moon so I can get away from the filthy pores.
So you'd have an expansion phase for the moon.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd go through an Old West lawless kind of phase?
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd have pockets it'd be like the gold rush. They'd find out where the valuable stuff is, and then there would be people just flooding into it.
Yeah. Well, we still have the Old West lawlessness here, basically, where there are some places that are just so rural that no one cares.
Oh man, here's a great idea for a TV show and or movie. Take the idea of the 49ers who would just be okay, let's throw what we've got into a carriage and get a couple of mules and oxen and we'll just go. And who knows if we'll make it or not. And translate that into building the shittiest spaceship that you can just hammer together, strap some rockets onto it. It's like, oh, we're gonna make it, and then the journey to the moon, and then homesteading the moon.
That was the prediction from Star Trek. Like there was going to be a world war and wiped everybody out, and then that's what led us to the stars.
Yeah, that would be great. Oregon Trail, but the moon. Lunar Trail. Lunar Trail is the name of that show.
Space truckers.
You're welcome.
Can you imagine, like, if you're one of those people and I'm going to finance my trip to the moon in my homemade rocket, making YouTube videos, like doing the reality show thing, but it's like...
Go fund me.
Yeah.
Go moon me. Ikea makes very large stores. Shockingly...
700,000 square feet at the upper end.
Yeah, amazingly massive in some places.
Well, have you been dragged into one yet?
Yes.
I love Ikea.
I like the food in Ikea.
So massive that you can just drop your kids off and get a meal and then journey out into that wasteland. And who knows if you'll come back or not. Well, you can use that to your advantage to have exciting events, but don't advertise them on Facebook.
Police shut down a 3,000-person game of hide-and-seek at Ikea. So Ikea actually, the most shocking thing about this article, it was going to be like one of those flash mob kind of things. And so 3,000 people show up at Ikea and they're playing hide-and-seek. Ha, 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 everybody has a good time. But even for these very large Ikeas, this made Ikea nervous. But the most amazing thing out of this article was that this is not the first time this has happened, and generally Ikea tolerates it.
I think it was the size of this group.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of people even just for a regular Saturday.
Yeah.
Although, at 700,000 square feet, 3,000 people could hide in it, especially with all that furniture.
Good Lord.
How do you explain that if you're like hiding inside one of the sofas and someone's like trying to actually buy furniture?
Well, what's funny is the cops showed up and it said that they were stopping anybody who looked like they might be there for a hide and seek game. How do you know? What does that look like?
Everybody except the extremely elderly, who are still hiding there to this day. Rumor has it.
They didn't realize it was called off.
Are you actually like looking at the furniture? Or are you looking for someone under the furniture? I guess that's how you tell.
No, they're stopping at the door.
Yeah.
They were profiling them. And again, like, how do you recognize?
How do you know?
This was in Scotland, so.
Too bad. If you're going to organize an IKEA event, just make sure it's below 3,000 people. That's the
rule.
Key. We have a healthcare situation here in the U.S.
I think things are getting kind of dicey.
It's talked a lot about.
It's been dicey.
Although I love this idea. Set a price, and this goes to show you that the real value of these services is about 5% of what they charge. And it wouldn't be a big problem if we just cut out the insurance industry.
Yes.
This could totally work.
Doctors aghast at Groupon deals for medical care. There's a bunch of really amazing and hilarious examples. One of the things that the article only mentions in a footnote, which is the reality, is that a lot of these procedures are not for medical purposes. So like you're going to go and you're going to get your MRI and it's going to cost $50 or $100 or whatever with the Groupon deal. And you get your results from that. And so like, if there's a growth somewhere, that's cool. You can take that back to your doctor. But 999 out of 1,000 times, the doctor is going to order another MRI, and that one is going to have to go through like the regular medical channels, and then it's going to cost $1 zillion and blah, blah, blah.
And that's when you're like, well, listen, Doc, I'll see you in 6 months when they run another Groupon.
Another Groupon deal.
And hopefully it won't grow in that time.
Doctors aghast. Well, I feel, you talk about like the insurance industry. It's just the doctors are so far removed from billing most of the time. Like they probably have no idea how much it really does cost.
And we talk about people getting left out, and yes, some people would get left out. But if 1% is left out and everybody else can have affordable health care, is that not better than where we are now?
Where like half of people are left out?
Yeah, where everybody's left out.
But the insurance industry pays our politicians. Who will think of the politicians?
My favorite thing here in America is that lately the price of insulin has gone crazy. So it's $1,000 a month, whereas like a year ago it was $35 a month.
We need to talk to Groupon about doing some insulin.
It's going to happen for prescription medication sooner
or
later.
We should let's see if we can find some expired insulin. do like a Big Lots style, like a Big Lots of a Big Lot pharmacy. You know?
Like
It's
6-month expired insulin, that's
Yeah.
fine. 2 years expired, not so much.
we got this Vicodin that's only 5 days off. So take it quick. You can't just keep it in your medicine cabinet. But if you're getting your root canal today, you're fine.
Yeah,
no
I learned the hard way about the expiration thing because I got some Chips Ahoy from Big Lots not too long ago, and it's like, oh, this is amazing because it was like $1 for like the big thing. They were already gone.
Yeah.
They already tasted like cardboard.
little off.
Yeah.
You got to know how to shop at Big Lots.
Yeah, food is usually not the best call at Big Lots.
Turns out.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that lamp I got at Ollie's. That was a bad investment.
I'll get like a gallon of milk at Big Lots in a pinch, but even that's not great.
Milk seems like a real gamble with that.
I mean, it's still good. Like, I've never had bad milk from Big Lots, but like it always does. Like, it's a weird brand, so it never tastes the same as regular milk.
Tastes a little metallic.
Yeah.
That's because the real brand that made it was like, no, we're not putting their name on this.
It's milk. Picture of a cow, but it doesn't actually say milk anywhere on the box.
Is the lamp you got at Ollie still threatening to burn your house down?
I don't use it.
It makes a sad beep noise.
The coil whine is so extreme that it bothers me. So I just don't even use it. I'm sure it's definitely a threat for fire.
You turn it on, the cats just start freaking out and wailing like they're in horrible pain. It's like, oh, can you hear something I can't hear? Is it worse? Is it louder for you guys?
If that would keep them out of the bedroom, that might actually be useful. Oh, we've entered into this world where words are harmful, literal violence, and it just gets darker and darker every day. And so, Microsoft. Now, you might think that something as a code base as big and prevalent as Chromium would already be pretty clean, right? But no, not clean enough for the people at Microsoft.
Allow list, not whitelist. Block list, not blacklist. Goodbye, WTF. Microsoft scans the Chromium code and locks off offensive words. This is part of the move to take IE Edge to the Chromium and WebKit-based browser rendering engine away from their own internal proprietary thing, which was always terrible. So they're trying to make it as politically correct as possible.
Look at these guys in blue shirts mopping. Like that was their stock photo for this. It's not terrible. So yeah, they've come up with a variety of things that are not allowed in the code. Never mind that the consumer is never going to see these. And what do they hurt? I mean, in the context of code, this blacklist, do you think in the history of code, all right, ever since we've been writing code, has the word blacklist ever appeared in code talking about African Americans?
I don't think so.
That's got to be almost vanishingly likely. Like winning the lottery back-to-back 5 or 6 times kind of numbers.
You think they have movie nights at Microsoft?
What?
Like, it's like, let's do a team building exercise and like have a movie night at Microsoft.
Like maybe they watch Blazing Saddles?
Yeah, I mean, you could never have a movie of any kind. Like, no movie. None. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just from like a logistical standpoint, like just have it like spending the time, the man hours on doing this. That's what I don't get. Because like ultimately, I don't really care if it's blacklist or blocklist. But why, if it's already there, maybe just have a policy like don't use that term anymore.
It's funny because they have the response from one of the developers, and it was like, I don't know if we should really be putting a lot of resources toward this, but I support it. You could tell. It was like, no, don't turn the guns on me, but maybe just push this to the back burner.
Yeah, it's so completely like just not important in the grand scheme of things. Like,
and what if you introduce a typo with these stupid changes,
and then something breaks ambiguously?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah. Sad. It's a dark world we live in. But welcome to it. It ain't changing. Seems like it's here to stay. And finally, we have a story about... Now, we have done stories about... Remember the girl that married a bridge?
Oh, the covered bridge?
Didn't someone marry Pikachu? Or there was a Pikachu wedding ceremony?
Well, there's definitely guys that marry the... What's her name? Hatsune.
Yeah.
That guy. There's a great documentary on YouTube about him. Anyway, people marry things. And it's called, objectophilia. And it's weird, and this one is one of the weirdest.
Math student about to marry her Tetris game. Yeah, there's not really a lot else to this story. Like, honestly, I mean, the story, like
the picture says it all, really.
Yeah, and the writer did the research and asked the questions and stuff. But really, if you read it, you'll just have more questions.
Well, she started out, as most of us do, in our fledgling romantic interest when we begin to notice the. Well, I was going to say the opposite sex, but it's not the case here. She started out with a Texas Instrument calculator. That's a tale as old as time. And then she moved on to some other things. She settled on this Tetris cartridge, which looks like a NES cartridge.
Yeah.
You think she's got the old NES that played in, or
probably? Yeah.
So, oh yeah, they talked about the woman that married the Eiffel Tower. They recently divorced.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's too bad.
As it turns out, you can't really marry an inanimate object. It's not really an equitable partnership.
Now, she says that thanks to the massive amounts of merchandise, Tetris-related merchandise, that there is a romantic portion to this courtship. There are, what do they call it? Tetraminos, or there's a word for the shapes.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
So apparently they make some of those in, like less angular, more female body friendly formats, as you might expect. And she has those. But she claims that it's more about romance and less about physicality when it comes to objectophilia. She loves the geometry of it and the shapes.
And the 8-bit music.
And the fact that it can't hurt her like a real human could. I mean, no, it's not about that at all.
I don't know if she's ever tried that one. So yeah, and she's going to change her name. She's going to take the Tetris name. She wants to be called Fractal Tetris Hurricane after her nuptials.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
So yeah, and she says it's not really anybody else's business, which is kind of true, I guess, and that it's harmless, which again, kind of true. I mean, the huge benefit here is this person's not going to breed, right?
Do we have to like acknowledge her marriage? Because that seems.
Listen, if I have to use new pronouns, yes, you have to call her Tetris. It's physical violence if you don't, Krista.
I mean, I can like.
She Mrs. Tetris, or what was the name? It was really long.
Well, no, if somebody gets like health benefits or tax benefits or something for it's fine, whatever.
Tetris doesn't have a job. It's not on a plan.
It's a dependent.
Yeah, but like, yeah. Well, does she get to like mention that she's married on paperwork? I have so many questions about this kind of thing.
I guess she would.
I mean, you could list Hatsune Miku as a dependent and probably get the tax write-off.
You know what? I'll ask the person at H&R Block next time.
Well, they talked about in Japan, the government doesn't recognize it. It's just that company that will issue a certificate.
Yeah.
So that's not. I don't think you can actually do
Common
that.
law married.
But she is going to have a ceremony. Although, do you think that people will be playing Tetris at the ceremony? Because that seems a little,
Oh yeah.
Maybe they're into it.
Yeah, but that's hers now.
I
Where's
feel
the
weird
commitment?
about playing Tetris as a child now because it's like, oh, that was someone's husband. It's uncomfortable.
I love Tetris, and I want to get that Tetris Effect game. But one, it's only on the Epic Store, and two, it's $40. They want
Tetris?
$40 for a game of Tetris. What are they thinking?
I like Tetris, but I like Lumens more.
The Tetris Effect game, though, like they made Tetris the most attractive version of Tetris that you can ever imagine, and I kind of want it.
There's probably some Tetris clones on Steam that are nice.
They're not
It's
like
not the
that.
same.
All right, that's all we got.
We'll see you next week.